Okay, it's all good. Every single second of every minute, of every hour, of every day, this affects our well-being. Our blood sugar controls how we feel. It affects every cell in our body, every organ, every process in our body. So I think to say that it affects our overall health and our long-term health is probably really an understatement. It really affects everything. The cut to the chase is our blood sugar is either working for us or it's working against us. And if it's working against us, there can be a plethora of unwanted and undesired symptoms that not a one of us wants to deal with. Resistance to weight loss, headaches, shakiness, feeling clammy, anxiety, depression, skin problems, trouble sleeping, energy crashes. And that's just like 8 off the top of my head. The list really goes on and on. So I have a question for you this morning. Do you all know what an A1C test is?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I may have taken one.
Justin?
I don't know.
No? An A1C test is when your doctor can determine what your blood sugar has been over the last 90 days. If you don't know it, I would encourage you to find out what your number is. A normal number is between 4 and 5.7. At 5.7, they decide that you're pre-diabetic, and at 6.5, you get the diagnosis of diabetic. I think everybody, almost everyone in this room knows that a little over 2 years ago, on a fine Monday evening, I landed in ICU, and I came home 48 hours later with a $17,000 hospital bill and a late adult onset hereditary type 1 diabetes diagnosis. Before I go any further down that path, I want to say that I very much believe at the root of every single health issue that any one of us has, there's a spiritual and a nutritional component to that. So while my family is working together on the spiritual piece, I am doing every single thing I can to learn all I can about the nutritional side. That event really was traumatic. When I got home, I was mad, I pouted, I was depressed, I was angry. And after about 72 hours of wallowing in that nonsense, I decided, well, girlfriend, I guess you better pull yourself up by your bootstraps and figure out what you're gonna do about this. And not long after that, I began to, let's just call it what it is, be obsessed with everything I could do nutritionally to deal with this and live with it as effectively as I can in the meantime. I think a couple of things that I learned from that episode are, one, doctors have no nutritional training. You know, they can get their medical doctor degree with not even having 4 hours of nutritional training. They have a one-size-fits-all approach to people that are diagnosed diabetic, and our blood sugar is very personal to us. Something that works for me may not work for Dad. Something that Dad can get away with. There's a couple of things that he absolutely can do, does well with, and gets along fine. And I'm like, I can't do that. That would never work. So I picked up, I've learned several things, and I often joke that this is probably going to cause me to be a diabetic coach, which probably is not really a joke. So what I want to share today are 3 areas of our life within which we can all make effective, healthy hacks, whether you're somebody like Dad and I dealing with the tricky type 1, and if you're on a path to type 2, the good news is almost all cases of type 2 diabetes can be reversed with nutrition and lifestyle. It's the type 1 that's the tricky one. So I want to talk about 3 areas of our life, whether we want to prevent just old, aging onset diabetes, or you've been diagnosed, just some healthy hacks in 3 different areas of our life. The first one I want to talk about is hydration. And the reason that this is top of mind for me right now is there's a group of us at the Funplex that we exercise most mornings, and we've all got to be friends. One of them, my friend Dave, who's been very interested in ketones, is how we got to be friends. He said to me one morning, we were talking about it, and I said, Dave, are you a good water drinker? And he's like, are you kidding? I live on Diet Coke. And he has been,
That's one.
was diagnosed with diabetes several years ago, and Dave swears to me he has never had a doctor, a diabetic coach, a nutritionist, anyone say to him that it was important that he be hydrated. So we know that being hydrated reduces your blood sugar level, because what happens if you're dehydrated is the concentration of glucose in your blood is higher. So it's very important that we're hydrated if we want to have a good level. And the idea is like, you know, Dad and I both have continuous glucose monitors, so we're able to track all the time. But the goal is to be this rolling hill in what your number is. Now, let's face it, often Dad and I are more like, that's a better take on what happens. But the goal is to just be like a rolling hill. Don't make me laugh. The second area I want to talk about is nutrition. There are a lot of healthy choices we can make in the area of nutrition to have a good blood glucose level. And I'm going to give you all $500 of advice in about 10 seconds. You know, I've been counseling with Dr. Heather Carden out of Overland Park, Kansas, one of our main doctors at Prove It. And the cut to the chase on what she has taught me is to get back to eating whole food, give up the processed. She's like, I'm taking you off of everything processed. We're going to eat whole food. For me, staying away from dairy, and I think I'm sensitive, my blood sugar is sensitive to caffeine, and that's not true of all people. Some people can get away and drink caffeine just fine. I think I am sensitive to it. And, you know, hydration and exercise. But everything that I'm working for in the nutritional arena is to prioritize protein and fat. And when we eat protein and fat, that has very little effect on our blood sugar level. You know, our body needs a certain amount of protein, and most people don't get enough. So if you start your meal eating protein, you're gonna hit that spot where you're like, I cannot take one more bite of this steak or one more bite of this roast. You'll just know that you've had enough protein at that meal. But that is a hack that absolutely works. Start your meal with protein and fat. And then when you want to eat the carbs, we want to eat complex carbs, that good carbs that are low on the glycemic index. They're not going to spike the heck out of your blood sugar. So those are some nutritional hacks to follow. The last one I want to talk about is lifestyle hacks. And I just learned this recently. And if you're curious about this, I would encourage you to go and follow Danny Hamilton. She's on Instagram. She has Danielle Hamilton Health, but puts out an incredible amount of information. You can just learn so much from her. And one thing that I've learned recently is not to eat late. We don't want to eat after the sun goes down. Danny says the minute the sun goes down, if you've got insulin working and being produced in your body, it checks out when the sun goes down. And I found that to be true. I personally have to not eat late at night. It just doesn't turn out good in the morning or the whole next day. So not eating after the sun goes down. We want to be good to exercise, at least be getting 30 minutes a day. And it seems really simple, but it's very important to move, because when we're exercising, our muscles use up that extra glucose that may be in our bloodstream. So those are a couple of lifestyle hacks that are helpful. You know, and one last lifestyle hack is to intermittent fast and move your eating window into an 8-hour window, or some people go shorter than that, but most people do intermittent fast on a 16-8 basis. To reiterate what we've talked about this morning, your blood sugar level is very, very important to your overall health. for anti-aging to age well. If it's out of control and you don't know it, you can be incurring all kinds of health issues. When your blood sugar is not in the range it's supposed to be in, it's literally damaging every single organ in your body. I mean, this is a big deal that we want to pay attention to. So be hydrated, get back to your native state, eat whole food, and the lifestyle hacks are get that movement, and like I always love to say, move it or lose it.
Good.